So, hello everybody. This is Ajahn Spencer, and this is actually would be, I believe, part 3 of Amulet Talk, but this is actually part 1 of Amulet Talk, because this particular Amulet Talk is for my private subscribers. So there will be another one after this as part 3 of the public Amulet Talk series. It's actually the first private Amulet Talk series. Private meaning those students of amulets who wish to subscribe to this, and these will be serious students and collectors and devotees, and also some traders and academics, just people who are very interested to know, sensible people. And decided that this time I'm going to talk about a very hot topic in the moment, which is now also becoming a hot topic in foreign countries. Singapore currently receiving feedback and news from people of both sides of the fence, meaning there are two different groups of believers and there are groups of disbelievers. So what I'm talking about now is the Khun Phaen, Pong Prai Kuman of Luang Phu Tim, Wat Lahan Rai. And that currently we have two major opposed schools of thought. One that believe in the 2517 BE blog rag, first blog press, which was actually not the first. We call it the first because it was the most perfected blog press mold of pressing the Khun Phaen amulets. And these were the ones that have, we could say, during the last, since 2517 BE, have been the officially and worldwide famously accepted and heard of and admired models. And that since that time there has always been small groups which never really came into the mass media or general public eye, but has existed since then, was Prat Chao Ban. Chao Ban means local folk, just real working class people that you have a different society. You have collectors and people, fan clubs around the country, and then you have the local folk of the area around the temple, who were around, the old folk who were around at the time. And so what collectors and auction showroom people and international collectors and speculators and traders and those who make hardback, full-color encyclopedic works and amulet magazines have been interested in up until the last few years was this classic 2517B edition, the block rag, and then slowly came out, slowly to be accepted, the block in meat gone within most groups of this particular society. The block in Midgone was accepted, which was said to be Long Pim. They don't call it the block in Midgone. They call it the Long Pim. The Long Pim. Long means test. Pim is the model, to press the model in the block press. So the tester block press. And most people were under the impression that it was made to test the 2517BE edition, and because it wasn't pretty enough yet, they then made it into the blog rag. This turned out to not be true, because lately in the last few years it has come in mass media that there are Khun Phaen around that some people say from since once before 2500 BE, I think 2497, sometime around there, that Luang Phu Tim, in the year of his Chinese zodiac sign, made Khun Phaen, and then again, I think 12 years later, started to make again. And most other people will believe that he started in about 2508 BE, or roughly before then. At that time, Wat Lahan Rai was called Wat Rai Wari, And so amulets pressed, Khun Phaen amulets pressed in those times will not have the words Wat Lahan Rai on the back face of them. Instead they will have the name Wat Rai Wari. And since those times there was actually a block press cut from the sharpening stones from the monks' razors to shave their heads. Hin Meat Gon means the stone for sharpening a razor with, which is quite a porous and fragile stone. And so this was kind of a rough Khun Phaen, still very beautiful, carved in one of these. And from at least 2508, I'll start there, from what I will claim to believe, is that I believe that before, but at least from 2508 BE, there is evidence that Khun Phaen Song Pon Yai and Khun Phaen Pai Kuman, Sumren Keo, have been pressed since then, and they began to be pressed and were constantly pressed and distributed to local folk, which is why there are still, and thousands of them, I mean many of them were pressed, and that local folk would assist. And there are some still living people who have photographic evidence of themselves helping Luang Phu at Luang Phu's side, ordained with Luang Phu, or as layperson with Luang Phu, helping to make the amulets, press the amulets, mix the sacred clay, and all of these things. There is evidence. It's photographic. These people have come out and been interviewed and made their statements. And I've listened to many tens of hours of various of these still living eyewitnesses and collaborators who were actual Luxit cop crew, who had the cop crew, you would call it the Lersi Mask Blessing, one-on-one from Luang Phu Tim to themselves. And they have made statements and they have shown their photographs of themselves with Luang Phu performing these acts of amulet making, and also the study of the Muan San, the clay. Once you have recognized the sacred clay of the Khun Phaen of Luang Phu Tim, and its aging, and it doesn't really matter to look at the Pim song, the block press, the details of the front design and the back design, like the Block Rag Society, the society who only believe in the 2517 BE edition, they'll say, oh, if it has this little mark to the left, then it's fake, and if it doesn't, or they don't have stuff with a coin stuck in the back, or with 9 takrut stuck in the back, that's not true, because when they were pressing amulets between 2508 all the way up to 2517 and making block presses, and the block in Midgon, there were more than one, and when that broke they made another one from brass which is called the block Tong Luang, and because block presses break when you're pressing the amulets, it looks like these drills you see in an engineer's place. It's a metal press, and you have this brass block press, and from pressing it together with the handle as you press them every time, eventually they break. And so when they make a design, they always make more than one press, and when one breaks, then the reserve press they have made gets used further, and the details are always slightly different. And so what I have learned is you can look at the PIM, the details, if you've seen all of the different block presses and you want to say which block press it is. But that if you don't recognize the details of the block press, it doesn't mean it's not real. Because if the sacred clay is real and the block press is slightly different, or it's got 9 takrut in the back, or it's got a Hanuman in the back, or it's got a coin in the back, or it's got some lukpat beads in the back, or it's got somebody's name written on it in pencil. There are reasons for this, is because Luang Phu, sometimes they would make with, some people say there are some with 9 gold takrut, and then there are some you will find it's got 21 takrut in it, gold takrut in it. They say, well, is there really any with 21 gold takrut? Well, from eyewitness statements, what happened was that as they were being pressed, the local devotees would come in and ask and say, I need for protection, and I need for good business, and I'm a gambler. They would say, oh, well, take the black ones. And sometimes I would say, I want 21 takrut because I'm 21 years old. And so I'd say, oh, we'll take these 9 golden takrut and cut them into 21 pieces, and we'll put them in the back as 21 for you, and write the person's name on the bottom in pencil. Or somebody would say, you know, I worship Hanuman, or I'm a Muay Thai boxer, so I want to put a Hanuman in the back. And so they would allow them to take one and have a Hanuman put in the back, and the devotee would take it away and wear it, stay in the family for 30 years. And so now these amulets are coming out, have been coming out for a few years as the mass media found out about it. And the first group, who believed only in the 2517BE editions, was saying this is all fake. This is all fake, and so on. But actually there's a hell of a lot more story to this. And one thing I would like to say, that for those who wish to seriously, who believe in the Khun Phaen, that's it, Ningha, the Khun Phaen 2515BE, or the Khun Phaen Sumkat, can also call it Sao Khat, or Khun Phaen Block Thong Luang, or Khun Phaen Block Song. It's all the same. It's all the same. And if you say it's a 2515BE amulet, actually in truth they've been pressed from 2508BE throughout the whole time, being pressed constantly and distributed. So actually, you know, some Khun Phaen 2515, they might have been pressed and distributed in 2510 or 2512 or 2516 or 2517 and so on. There's one you call many subdivisions of block presses, and actually there's only a few basic block press designs, but the people who want to define things into many categories to make it easy to say these are more expensive because they're more beautiful, or these are less expensive because of this, because it has this, doesn't have this mark on it, or whatever. I mean, there's one special PIM called block PIM Lai Lum. Lai Lum. Lum means like a puddle or a little hole in the road, kind of a little indentation, a crater. And all of the PIM Lai Lum, block Lai Lum, Khun Phaen, to the, looking from ourself at the amulet, the left side, and so the Buddha's right shoulder. Just next to the Buddha's right shoulder there will be an indentation, as if there's a hole in the surface, like a dent, a lum, a little puddle or a crater. What this actually was that it's the block Thong Luang, it's the same one as the Khun Phaen Ning Ha, all the other models, but what they did was they put a gemstone into the block press mold before they poured the clay in and pressed the amulet. And so all the amulets which they did that with, the gemstone stayed still stuck in the mold, but it caused an impression and a dent into the chest just right of the shoulder of the Buddha on the Khun Phaen. And when they did this particular model, you can recognize it for this dent, and it's called Lai Lum. So those who are serious aficionados and fanatics of the Khun Phaen 15 series amulets, they define that particular Khun Phaen as the Lai Lum, and there are many, many, many subdivisions if you really want to get into it. But what's important is not to look at the PIM. Do PIM means look at the details to compare with the one in the magazine. If it has all of these tiny little markings and little flaws that come from the block press, which should be noticeable, and if it's not there, it's not real. That's rubbish. What you have to do is not do pim. That's called do pim. You can do it to say, oh, that's a lai lum, or that's a this one, or that one, block leg, or block tong luang, block song. But if you want to know if it's real or not, what you have to do is not do pim. You do นื้อ, do môn sản. Look at the clay. Look at the contents. Look at the surface. Because you can't fake that. You can't fake the characteristics and the features of the sacred clay, of the real sacred clay, of a Khun Phaen, Luang Phu Tim. Yes, there are different sacred clays. So if it's khao niao suk, sticky rice, blessed sticky rice is the main ingredient, it has a real... those ones also have pieces of Pat Somdet Wat Rakang of Somdet Paputa Janto included in them, mixed in. And that's and the khao niao suk, the steamed sticky rice. This gives looks like a greeny white marbled texture, crackled as well. Gives the crackled effect which comes from the Somdet Wat Rakang powders which were mixed in, broken pieces. But you can, once you've known the texture of khao niao suk, of an authentic Luang Phu Tim, Song Ha Ning Ha, Luang Phu Tim 15, if you want to call it that, you will know straight away if it's real or not, because you can't fake that. And if it's made out of that, then for sure it's Luang Phu Tim. And so you do นื้อ, look at the clay. If it's Wan Sabu Lut, the red one, I call it blood soap herb. Wan Sabu Lut, called Chan Mark. They also call it chewed beetle because there's chewed beetle in it as well, and areca nut. So a bone Chan Mark. Depends how you want to call it. Different groups call it different ways. That has a different appearance. But each different môn sản, each different coloured clay, and there are many. There are green, there are painted with colours, with blue tint, all sorts. With gold leaf, with the Sairet Tongkham, with the gold, and there are green, there are blue, there are red, there are Benjarong with 5 colours. But once you've seen the real characteristics of the sacred clay in each of the different kinds of môn sản powders that they were made from, you can't mistake it. You can tell a fake from a real straight away. But by looking at the pim and comparing it with the actual details of the design, you can't, because there were so many pim and a hell of a lot of them were not documented. And they're only known by old people, and the information is being diligently gathered now by quite a few very meritorious students who are traveling around to gather and collect and document this evidence, which I'm also trying to help doing. And so there you go. The main point of this is ไม่ต้องดูพิมพ์เท่าไหร่ You don't have to look at the pim so much. ดูเนื้อ Look at the clay. Look at the môn sản. Look at the sacred clay, if it's real or not. So once you've seen some real stuff, you should know what it looks like, and it just can't be faked. So that's the end of Amulet Talk, episode 1 of my private podcast series for serious students and aficionados. It's Ajahn Spencer signing off. Have a nice evening, everybody.